Hey Matt, it's David Hood with Tiger Net. Every time we talk to anybody, they keep talking up Hunter Rayburn. What has he done to kind of take a step forward in this camp and kind of raise some eyebrows?
I think with Hunter, throughout his time here, we've always known he's had the physical ability. He's extremely gifted, very athletic. He's able to carry weight very well, which is something that I think might get overlooked sometimes. But for him, I think the corner I've seen him turn is just from a physicality standpoint, really sticking his head in there and being able to move guys and not get knocked back. And that goes for the run game and the pass game. Obviously, people like to talk about physicality in the run game, but at center in the passing game, you're really setting the depth of the pocket. So the ability to sit down on a bull rush, especially when you have a head up nose and kind of allow that quarterback to have the space to follow through on his throws is important. So Hunter's done a great job this spring and really taking that next step. And that's great because we need the guys to step up, especially at center with the departure of Cade. So it's been great to see Hunter kind of come into that role, and hopefully he'll continue to make those strides.
Matt, speaking of roles, looks like you've come into a little bit of a leadership role of your own now as you've gotten here a little bit older on the depth chart here. Talk about stepping up into that role and what you've tried to tell the freshmen as they show up on campus and start to acclimate to the team drills.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a crazy feeling looking up in the first team meeting of the year and being one of the oldest guys in the room. Obviously, we do have the few sixth-year guys back, but with the exception of those guys, the few fifth-year guys from my class, those are the oldest guys on the team, which is crazy to think about my journey at Clemson and where we started and where I've come and so much more to accomplish with this last year. But just my message to the freshmen is everything matters. And Coach Sweeney does an unbelievable job of really instilling that in the young guys, that it's not just about your ability on the football field. It's what you do in the classroom and what type of respect you have and character. And all of those things are really important in the Clemson football program. And for some young guys, they might not have had that sort of accountability at the high school level. And so it's a little bit of an adjustment when they get to a place like Clemson. But I think our group of early enrollees and freshmen have done a great job. And we've got some really, really promising young guys.
Walker Parks told us the other day that he was pissed off about some things about last season. I guess you probably saw those comments. Is that kind of a feeling that the entire offensive line has?
It should be. Obviously, I think that's kind of a widely known sentiment that people have been somewhat critical of the offensive line play over the past season. And as Walker mentioned, I would say some of that is definitely warranted. As I've had the chance to go look back at the film throughout the season, I think we started off well. You look at the first couple games, including the Miami game, I think we did very well. Communication and all of those things. And then throughout the season, it just becomes very inconsistent. Obviously, Notre Dame was a tale of two games. We came out and played very well in the run game against Pittsburgh, and then maybe not so well against Ohio State. And so it's definitely frustrating for me as an older guy. I put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's something that matters to me, and I care about it, and I take pride in it. And I know that every day I'm working to make sure that I get better and correct the things that need to be corrected, and also bring along the young guys so that we do have the support and maybe some more depth that we didn't have last year. But at the end of the day, it would be very easy for me to say, well, we didn't have the depth, or we didn't have a full offseason, or I wasn't healthy, and point to those reasons as to why we maybe didn't play as well as we should have. But at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter what the reason is and what's a legitimate reason and what's not. At the end of the day is we didn't play as well as we were capable of playing, and as well as we were required to play. So moving forward, we're really trying to instill a mindset that we need to get better. And the team's only going to go as far as we're going to take them. And obviously that was evident this past season, obviously not finishing where we wanted to finish.
Hey, Matt, it's Josh from Charleston. What are the biggest things technique-wise that need to improve this year for the line?
For me personally, or as a group?
As a group.
I mean, generally speaking, obviously it's a run game emphasis. As much as there's been criticism of the O-line, as I mentioned, I think from a pass pro perspective, we're pretty effective. In the run game, I think as we got down the stretch, there was just not as much movement, especially on the inside. And so we need to assess why that is. Maybe our splits were too tight. Maybe we were crowding the ball a little bit, and footwork gets a little sloppy. So there's a ton of little things that add up and culminate into big things. So it really is cliche and it sounds stupid, but it's very basic and fundamental things that impact the effectiveness of the play. So there's a lot of things. I mean, obviously we have different guys that are in different stages. I'm the oldest, and then Jordan is a veteran as well, but we have a pretty young group. So different guys are in different stages, but the fundamentals remain the same. And so if we can just get everybody on the same page with the fundamentals and on the same page mindset-wise, I think we'll be headed in the right direction.
Hey, Matt, this is Todd in Spartanburg. How much do you think a year of experience will take care of a lot of those problems?
Experience matters for sure. I had experience before last year, but obviously being in a starting role, I think there's a lot of different things that you're introduced to, namely just the wear and tear on your body throughout the season, especially when you're in a situation where you're playing a lot of snaps each week. It does add up throughout the season, and you get into November and December, you're pretty sore and pretty banged up. And so for me, being able to know that going into next season and maybe be a little bit more proactive, taking care of my body on the front end so we don't get in that situation, and just being able to handle the pressure. Obviously, in any game, there's going to be ups and downs, and throughout the season, there's ups and downs. So just being able to handle all of the good and all of the bad and just stay even-keeled and never get too high or never get too low.
Matt, this is Larry Williams with TigerIllustrated.com. Sort of as a figurehead of this offense as a whole, as you look at what Alabama did last year offensively and winning it all, and then LSU the year before, is there a feeling on this offense that you guys need to be better equipped to sort of go up and down the field in those track meet type of games to put up a bunch of points to win another title? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my answer would be it was the year before LSU that we did score 44 points in the national championship game. But no, to answer your question, I mean, better equipped, I don't know if I would say that. I think it's a game of performance. Coaches coach, players play. And, yes, our staff does a great job. Coach Elliott, one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country in his position. They equip us. We just have to execute, and that's all I would say on that. We're good enough. We're consistently there, but there's a difference between being in the playoff and winning it all, and it's a pretty big difference in my opinion.
Yeah, equip probably not the right word. Maybe just in better position to be in those types of.
I would probably equate that to the same.
Hey, Matt, this is Anna with Clemson 24/7. What have you seen from Will Putnam this spring, kind of after he's gotten that first full fall of being a starter under his belt, and kind of where are the biggest jumps that he's made and maybe needs to still make?
I mean, Will Putnam, obviously a young guy last year, second year, true sophomore. He stepped into a big role, and I think that he did well. Obviously, there was things that if you asked Will, he'd probably like to improve upon, but I think he was a very serviceable player and for the most part did his job. I think Will, he has a wrestling background, so he has a very good understanding of leverage and different things like that, but he also has the ability to move people off the ball. I think he would like to get a little bit more weight in his britches, as we all would like to, but like I said, I think last season was a very good foundation for him as well as myself, and just moving forward, just continuing to build upon that and cleaning up some technique. And as you get older and have more of a base of knowledge from an offense standpoint, you can put a little bit more effort into techniques and really refining your play on the field. So I know he's excited to get that opportunity. And as we mentioned prior, experience matters. And so now he's really got a lot of experience and he's been in those big games and he knows that he can handle it. So now it's how good can he become as a player? And I think that he can become a very good player.
Hey, Matt.
What have you seen from DJ this spring just as a leader?
I mean, DJ, I think we saw that last fall. Obviously, he was thrust into that position rather quickly and unexpectedly, and he handled it with grace. And that's just the type of guy DJ is. He's calm and cool and confident in his abilities and the people that are around him. And obviously he's got the worst job in America. He's got some pretty big shoes to fill, but he's a very talented kid and a steady worker. And I know all of us have full confidence in DJ, and we're excited to see him let it rip. And I mean, obviously also we have Tyson in the cut as well. And he's a very talented guy as well. And so we've got a very multifaceted quarterback room and the ability to do a lot of different things. So I know we're excited to move forward. Definitely going to miss number 16, but obviously looking forward to seeing what he does at the next level and the great career that he's going to have.
And Matt, three guys that you got there in your position group, I'd like to get your thoughts on them just real quick. Paul Chio, Mitchell Mays, and then the new guy, Tristan Lee. Just your thoughts on each guy.
Tristan is not here yet, I don't believe, so I'm going to refrain from speaking on him. But Mitchell Mays, the jump and improvement that Mitchell Mays has made from last fall to now, and really you think about he got here a year ago to where he is now, completely night and day. Really proud of the improvement Mitchell's made. Gotten with Jordan McFadden a lot to help him with his pass set and some technique things, and really just getting a little bit more physical as well. I think that's a common theme without this young group is just not just playing the game, but playing O-line and getting ready to hit somebody. And I think that Mitchell has really improved upon that, as I mentioned, Hunter as well. And that's great to see. I mean, we need guys that are going to be physical at the point of attack and move people. And obviously it's something that we need to improve upon as a whole. So I'm really proud of Mitchell and Paul as well. I mean, Paul, super talented. I mean, he's got great size, quick feet. When he puts it all together, I told him his ceiling's a lot higher than mine. And as soon as he gets confident and learns some techniques and all the details, he's going to be a very, very good player. And love being around those guys and just trying to love up on them and encourage them, because sometimes it's hard. You know, you're out here competing and it's easy to get down on yourself when you're going against very talented players in practice. But the improvement that those guys have made from when they got here a year ago is incredible. And it's great to see those guys starting to get ready to contribute as we need. So really proud of both of those guys and looking forward to seeing them finish spring strong and then have a great summer moving into camp.
It's David again. Thomas Austin is back. What's it like having Thomas Austin around? What is his coaching style and kind of what has he meant to you in this short time?
Yeah, so TA, I've known TA since I was getting recruited. He was the GA. He was obviously here for 4 years, 3 years in an on-field role. So that's the one thing. Unfortunately, he is not able to coach on the field. But what a great resource Thomas Austin is for myself and all of the offensive linemen. I mean, he's been around the block. He's played at the highest level, and he's an extremely intelligent person. And I just was very excited to see that he was coming back. He's someone that I really look up to and respect, and he knows offensive line play very well. And I think that he's going to be a great addition to the staff and kind of just a little different perspective maybe for some of the young guys and some different eyes, and maybe can explain things a little differently and help in their development. So I know that he's a very good asset for this program and just really glad to have him back. Obviously, I've known Thomas for a long time, and like I said, I really do look up to him and appreciate his perspective.
We'll take one or two more for Matt if anybody's got them.
Matt, Trenton Simpson said that the Ohio State game and the physicality was kind of a wake-up call for the defenses. What was kind of some of your big takeaways from that game?
You know, it's obviously frustrating. Never want to go out like that. They dominated us on both sides of the ball, and obviously I had a part in that. And moving forward, yes, the physicality, I think, is something that we need to really harp upon and improve upon. And I think we've played on that level and played well. And so we know we have the ability, but somewhere along the way, maybe the mindset or motivation was lacking a little bit. And they were hungry and they felt slighted from the year before, and they came out to play. And you can tell when, you know, one team's got a little bit more edge than the other, what happens. And it's unfortunate that something like that has to happen for us to maybe reevaluate where we are. But Absolutely. I mean, I think I did a lot of reflection on myself. Like I said, I kind of went back and watched the film from last year and saw the good and the bad as well, and had a honest conversation with myself regarding where I am as a player, what I need to improve upon, and how I can help this team moving forward. So there's a lot of things that I think we need to improve upon, but I would definitely say physicality and toughness is at the forefront.
Matt, when you say motivation was maybe lacking a bit, is that something you recognize or see in the moment, or only something that you sort of pick up on upon reflection?
Motivation lacking in the moment maybe is not the correct way to describe it. I would say just the hunger. I think that they showed more hunger, similar to in 2017 in the Sugar Bowl as well. You look at the Alabama team who was coming off the prior year loss in the national championship to us, and they just had the edge to them. They were mad about the loss and salty about the loss, and they were coming with something to prove. And I think sometimes a team with that type of edge to them and intrinsic motivation, you gotta match that. And I just don't know if we did. Like I said, from a physicality standpoint. So I don't know in the moment, not necessarily, but just looking back at it, you got to be honest with yourself. And I always try to be real with myself. And like I said, have an honest conversation about what I did well and what I did not do well, and how I can improve upon that moving forward.
How long after last season ended did you wait to start looking at the film and breaking that down, and what was that process like?
You got to give yourself some time, but a week or so passes, you get back into it. And I think you just start at the beginning, and you come out strong versus Wake Forest and starting to get some momentum. You have those back-to-back night games against Virginia and Miami. And then, you get into the middle of the season and things start to get hectic, and you get people testing positive for COVID and the Florida State situation. And then as you get to the end of the season, obviously it was very different last year, not quite as much of a traditional bowl season. It was bam, bam, bam. It was almost like an extension of the regular season to some degree. And, like I said, I think looking back at it, there are some positives. I think it's a bit unfair for people to say that there was no positives or act like that's the case. There's some definitely good things to improve upon. But there's a good base, and we have guys that can play. So now we need to bring along the young guys. We need to get a little bit more depth. And like I said, reinstill the mentality that we're going to be a physical group. Because I think down the stretch, we lacked that a little bit, myself included. And I've always been somebody who's, pride myself on being a physical player. And for whatever reason, that just became inconsistent, as I mentioned. So, like I said, there's a lot to improve upon, but there's also a great foundation as well. So I'm really excited for the coming months to get the chance to go and do it again.
All right. With that, we'll wrap up for tonight. Appreciate y'all's patience while we waited on them to work free. Matt.